In the very first unit of this course, we did a project in which we created an application that would calculate the area and perimeter of a rectangle when the user entered the width and length of that rectangle. And we clicked the calculate button, which executed some code, and in that code we did some mathematics. So we calculated the area as width times length. We calculated the perimeter as width plus length plus width plus length, and then we displayed that information. So we did just some very simple multiplication and addition math operations, and we saw that the multiplication operator is an asterisk. Let's look at all the different math operators that are available to us in VB and that we'll be using in the rest of the course. I am sometimes asked by a prospective student, how difficult is the math in this computer programming class? My response is that for the most part, it is the math you used in elementary school. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We might use the logic that we utilize maybe in a high school algebra class, but the math operations are pretty simple. We all know addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. The big difference here is for multiplication, we use an asterisk rather than an X or the dot that we used in algebra. Division is a forward slash. And I say forward slash because that's important because there are a few other operators that we may not use outside of the computing world much. The first of those is integer division. And there we use a backslash and then modulus, and we use the word mod. Now let's talk about what integer division and modulus is. I've given you some examples for all of these, and I have two variables, a and b. A is 5, b is 2. So for addition, a plus b would give 7. For subtraction, a minus b, c would be 3. For multiplication, if c is equal to a times b, c is going to equal 10. Division, a divided by 5 is 2.5. Now here's where the integer division comes in. When we learned division, we learned that a number goes into another number a certain number of times. So if we take 5 and divide that by 2, 2 goes into 5 twice, or 2 times. That is the integer division result. Now 2 times 2 is 4. We subtract 4 from 5, and the remainder that is left in that division is 1. And of course, 1 divided by 2 gives us 0.5. But in this case, the integer division gives us the whole number of 2, and the modulus gives us the remainder value, which is, now you may ask, when would I ever use that? You'll be surprised how often that comes in handy. In fact, our next project will use integer division and modulus. Then of course there's exponentiation. I want to square something or cube something. So here we have a times b, 5 to the power of 2, or 5 squared, is 25. If b was 3, it'd be 5 cubed, it'd be 125. 5 times 5 times 5. Same with square root. If I set a value of b to 1/2, that's the same as doing a square root. In a very near future video, we'll look at the math class, which has a square root method and also has a POW method where we can do the exponentiation that way as well. But these are the operators, the math operators that are built into Visual Basic. Now, integer division and modulus, we're usually using integers on those. A and B are usually integers. They don't have to be. They could be double values or float values, but there's a little gotcha in the integer division. And that is if I use double values. So I have dim A as double 7.67 and B as 4.39. I'm saying C is A divided by B. That's a floating point division or regular division. And then I have D as a double value is the operation of A integer division B. I'm going to convert that to a double value because normally an integer division returns a integer. And just for consistency, I'm going to keep it as a double. So I'm converting it to a double. And then I should do the same thing for the mod, A mod B. But let's look at the results in the message box that comes up here. So division, I get 1.747 something. That is a floating point division. But look at what happens for my modulus division using those double values. 43.9 does not go twice into 7.67. If I doubled 4.39, it's going to be 8.78. But I get a 2. And the reason I get a 2 is it rounds both of my double operators before it does the integer division. So in this case, A is rounded up to 8, and B is rounded down to 4, and 4 goes into 8 twice with no remainder. The modulus would be 0, except for the modulus doesn't make that distinction. For the modulus, it does the division as an integer division, but keeps the values as double values and provides the remainder as a double value. So I get 3.28 as my mod result of A divided by B. In fact, if I took 3.28 and added it to 4.39, I'm going to get 7.67. So we can see that that rounding does not occur with the modulus, but it does with the integer. Just something to be aware of. I rarely have had that be a problem, because normally we'll be using integers for doing both integer division and modulus. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.